ESPN's Jordan Raanan reports that Daniel Jones was frustrated with the decision to switch to Drew Lock in the fourth quarter of the Giants' Week 7 matchup against the Eagles. Brian Daboll said he was trying to create a spark for the Giants' offense down 21-3 at that time. Daboll said that Daniel Jones is still the starting quarterback, but Lock will be getting some reps in practice. Jones was 14 for 21 passing for 99 yards and sacked 7 times in the Giants' first game without Andrew Thomas. Jones said he took responsibility for the Giants not being able to get an offensive momentum against the struggling Eagles defense. The Giants lost 28-3 to the Eagles in the same game where Saquon Barkley rushed for 176 yards and a touchdown. The Giants fans were booing Saquon throughout the game, and Saquon said he doesn't want to get into any more questions about the New York Giants. Here's what I'm going to say about that. I told you so. I told you, Giant fans, that Saquon Barkley had this marked on his calendar. The Eagles had this marked on their calendar for Saquon Barkley. They love this. They loved what they did to the New York Giants and embarrassed the New York Giants on their own field. They embarrassed them at MetLife. And all I can say about this, and this is what the sale is. The Giants and Joe Schoen were wrong. They were wrong about this guy. They should have given him the money. At least you would have had 2 weapons, Saquon Barkley and Malik Neighbors. At least that would have opened up the field for Malik Neighbors and some of the other garbage that they have on the field. Robinson, okay. Darius Slayton, are you going to compare him to Odell Beckham? Stop it with this crap. Giant fans, stop this crap. They're garbage. This team is garbage. Now, as far as Daniel Jones is concerned, I know a lot of Giant fans can't stand the guy. That's fine. Is he dating Kay? I don't know. All right. And if he is, good for him. I hope he's having a good time in many different ways in his bedroom. But right now, it doesn't matter who he's sleeping with. It doesn't matter who he's throwing to because there's nobody open because the offensive line is giving him no time to get the ball out of his goddamn hands. Okay. And here's another thing for Mara. It's about time to really make a decision on Joe Schoen, okay? Joe Schoen did this team and this organization wrong. Everybody keeps talking about this offensive line and how well it's played. Andrew Thomas is gone, okay? He's gone, all right? So now you're going to figure out who's going to fill in for that position. And you drafted Evan friggin' Neal 2 years ago in the top 10. You could have brought in Cross. You could have brought in anybody else. You decided to go with Evan Neal because Brian Daboll is the butt buddy of Nick Saban. That's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. Whatever they're doing in this, outside of off the field, that's probably the answer right now. Evan Neal was brought to the New York Giants because of Nick Saban. And Evan Neal has been nothing but a joke. Kevon Thibodeau has been nothing but a joke. This organization has drafted over the last couple of years. Yes, he's hit on some players. There's no question. I mean, you could have been blind to not realize that Malik Neighbors was going to be a star. I mean, come on, guys. Anybody would have picked Malik Neighbors. Any one of those wide receivers are going to be pretty good when they figure things out. Malik Neighbors is just faster than most of them, okay, in many different ways. Speedy, you know all about fast in many different ways, right? Well, anyways, I would think right now, if you're a Giants fan, you would have to worry about not the quarterback play because guess what? In a year, after this year, you can opt out of Daniel Jones's contract. You don't need to bring Daniel Jones back. You really don't. Daniel Jones could be gone after this year, and it wouldn't even matter. But who are you going to fill into that position? You're going to do what the Cowboys did and bring in Trey Lance? Is that what you're going to do? And overpay a backup quarterback? Drew Lock sucks, okay? Drew Lock was drafted by the Broncos. Why did the Broncos not keep him? He stinks. You had Tyrod Taylor. You let him go to the Jets, okay? This is an organization that doesn't know what the F they're doing either. For all those people that said the Mara and the Tisch family, they're what do they call them? The royalty of the NFL with the Rooney family. The only royal they have is their jokers. They're the jokers of the NFL because royalty is not in the saying for the Giants organization anymore. There's no more Taylor there. There's no more Bill Belichick or Parcells. You got a guy named Brian Daboll, who sits there, he turns red. He lost a lot of weight, by the way. How many shots is he getting in his ass? I don't know. But anyways, what I do know right now with this organization is Washington, even with Jaden Daniels going down, he'll be back soon. Washington's a better team. The Eagles are a better team. And even the frigging Cowboys are a better team than this organization. And where do they go in the offseason? Andrew Thomas, as good as he is, guy can't stay healthy. Okay? He can't stay healthy. You have nothing. And all your money was put into these offensive linemen that doesn't work without Andrew Thomas, which tells me one thing. Andrew Thomas is the only offensive lineman that has any meaning to win. Okay? The word win is Andrew Thomas. If you don't have him, you're not going to win. And here's another thing for you Eagle fans that are sitting there all prideful that you beat the New York Giants. The New York Giants suck. Okay? Your defense, which was supposed to be the Georgia Bulldogs defense of the century, you stink. Your front seven, you played a Giants offensive line that stinks. You stink. Your secondary stinks. You stink. You're a bunch of pansy asses with a pansy ass coach. Okay? Saquon, I love you. I want to see you run over every single person. You deserve all the respect that you deserve. You are one of the best running backs in the league, and the Giants should have treated you that way. That's all I'm going to say about the Giants. Shame on the Giants. Watching, and by the way, Joe Shane, shame on you for not giving this guy and embarrassing that guy on Hard Knocks, because that wasn't about the Giants. That was about Joe Shane and his friggin' stupid family. I'm sorry. Not the family. I'm sorry. I'm going to take that back. Stupid family. I don't know their family in a hole in a wall. But how stupid can you be asking your kids who to draft? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, and you would think after Hard Knocks, that whole thing came out about 2 months ago, that the Giants would try to make it more low-key with this whole quarterback situation, because we know this passing game is not going to have a high volume anyway. But now to say that Daniel Jones and Brian Daboll are getting frustrated with each other for taking him out of a 21-3 blowout loss, okay, you're not going to take much of it. Why aren't you saying, all right, maybe he has 7 sacks, and say, we didn't want to get him hurt, we're going to put Drew Lock in the game, because Daniel Jones is about a year removed from an ACL injury that he suffered against the Raiders, and he's had other injury issues in his career. Why are you not saying that? Why are you saying, oh, he's getting frustrated with my decision, we're still going to start him anyway? It makes you look stubborn, Brian Daboll, whether it's the ownership tell him to say that or not. You could have easily just said, we don't want to get him hurt. The Eagles finally learn how to rush the passer again. You can't say that rather than like the constant pressure that's been going on all game. We knew, Fish, we were talking about it last week, we knew Azudo was going to be bad. We knew if they put Evan Neal in at left tackle, it wasn't going to work out. And it was as bad of the disaster as we thought it was going to be. It's not hard to say, just let's run the ball. Daniel Jones, let's not get him hurt. It's very simple.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, he's had 4 games where he hasn't thrown a touchdown. He's had 3 of them at home, and this was the second fewest total yards under Daboll since 2022. Like, when we talk about making adjustments, it's like, where are you going to do it? Where are you going to find it? We obviously, we've seen that it's a trend in what's happening. Like, I get, yeah. And to your point, Errol, it's like, Drew Lock's not the answer. Like,
we know.
My son's a huge Broncos fan, and he was like, Dad, I don't know about this one.
That's makes the Russell Wilson trade even more. He was supposed to be the promising throw-in in that trade, and Seattle knew to get rid of him and start the great Geno Smith.
Right. And so it's just, when you see these numbers and you see everything that's happening, it's like what we talked about earlier with the Jets as well. It's like, where you got to make an adjustment if you're seeing what's happening. And yeah, they ran all over him, and yeah, Saquon messed up my fantasy week, damn it. But it's just like, you've had 4 games, and he came out in his press conference today and said he's starting week 8. He gives us the best chance to win. But what does that really mean? Like, where is that coming from? Or are you just saying that to keep face, or what are you doing? And I think with just, and obviously numbers don't lie, and we're seeing what they are. And I mean, that's a tough pill to swallow sometimes, but then to come out and, I respect the fact that, he came out in his press conference today and was just like, yeah, he's our best chance to win. But still, is that just CYA covering you know what, or is it yeah, he is the best chance and we want to make sure he remains confident in what he does? I don't know that answer.
Yeah. So, guys, we talked about this the day the trade happened. I made a bet that I thought I was going to win a lot of money on because I said 150 yards parlayed with Saquon getting 2 TDs against the Giants in this game. And of course, they do the stupid goddamn tush push instead of getting me that second touchdown. And I would have made 10-1 on that freaking bet. So he beats, I get burned no matter what I do with this guy. I got 3 of his jerseys I can't wear that I love. One of them signed.
By the way,
You
I
know,
ordered an Eagles Saquon jersey. By the way,
Of course you did.
I did. I had to do it. I had to do it. What? You guys
Yeah,
are looking at me. I like the Eagles. You know it's my second.
I just
favorite.
threw up in my mouth, so I appreciate
What?
it.
Well, you will throw up when you see me wearing it on the show.
Fisher, we need all your Saquon pettiness graphics coming back whenever Errol does that.
Oh, don't worry. There's plenty of petty graphics. You know I'm good for it. The thing that doesn't make any sense about Daniel Jones and why people keep wanting to keep him in there is, look, can he be competent if everything is perfect around him with a good offensive line? Yes, he can. And that is the standard of being at least in the realm of being a rostered quarterback in the NFL. However, when you lose Andrew Thomas, you're seeing the same Daniel Jones we saw last year when everything is sped up on him, or he doesn't speed up and he just stands there and doesn't move around in the pocket and is the easiest target to get sacked by a middling at best defensive line that the Eagles have. I would say they're below average outside of Jalen Carter. They suck so badly. They made this Eagles defense look great. Hurts doesn't play that. Hurts has had a bad season.
Yeah.
He's not that great. He's not that accurate. It's not really working because I think their coach is an idiot. And I'm glad that they're not going to go anywhere this year. But they still humiliated the Giants again. The Giants gave no effort. Tay Banks, there's a play you can watch. And I wish I had a highlight of it. I don't have it. Sorry about that. Where he makes a business decision and decides not to go for the tackle on Hurts running up the sideline. Just showing you how they're quitting on the team and quitting on the coach. Maybe not completely, but the signs are already there for the collapse. This is the worst case scenario for the Giants. If Andrew Thomas was healthy, maybe Jones can do it. But he does, even when he has a pocket, he doesn't have an accurate deep ball. He doesn't push it downfield. You know, when he was a rookie, his deep ball was probably the best part of his game, and he's completely lost it because his mechanics are so shot from getting hit so quickly over the years that even when they have the good mechanics, he's gone. So to me, he's just another David Carr. That's a prospect that was highly touted, that may have had a chance to be good if he was put in a good situation. But guess what? He didn't, and now he stinks, and he needs to go.
All right.
He's 1 in 10 prime time in his career.
So we have
1 in
another
10.
Giant fan. We have another Giant fan, and obviously Scoops. I always want to bring him in when he knows his Giants. Your thoughts to the whole Daniel Jones situation with Daboll and his excuses after the game?
Yeah, no, the fact to jumpstart a 21-3 game makes no sense. I mean, if Jones had stayed in, I still thought they were going to lose. You know, the guy that they paid $40 million a year for, but then you throw in Drew Lock, like that doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, honestly, looking at this team, we always talked about this during the summer. We talked about this during the summer. Of course, Saquon had this marked on his calendar. As a Giants fan, I had this marked on my calendar too, and I didn't like what I saw, of course, with my beloved Saquon running all over that team. But
I loved it. It was my favorite thing to watch.
Yeah, of course it was. But
except the wind blowing out of Speedy's ass. You know, that was something to watch. Right,
Look,
Speedy?
No,
Duh.
I wouldn't want to watch that.
What, wind coming out of your ass?
No, I wouldn't want to watch that.
But you let your dog lick your ass. That doesn't make any sense.
I didn't let it.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So also, over the weekend, we all know, of course, with the Dante DiVincenzo thing that happened with him in the preseason and whatnot. So I actually saw the podcast with Jalen Brunson and I don't remember the Roommates. It's called the Roommates podcast with him and Josh Hart.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, you know, Josh Hart being a guy that's been traded for so many from 2 different teams now on the Knicks, he was even like in a way kind of sympathizing with DiVincenzo, saying like, I kind of understand why things got heated at the moment, and they still talk to each other. Of course, they were still good friends, but him saying that things got heated because, of course, whenever you play a team that traded you, it's always going to be personal for you. I mean, that's obvious. That's without a doubt. So of course Saquon had a chip on his shoulder going in. I mean, we always said it. We said it from day one, like Fish said. We said it from the day that the trade happened. The Giants disrespected Saquon with this, and now I think this game has officially put Joe Shane on the hot seat. I wouldn't say Daboll as much, but Joe Shane is definitely sitting there on the hot seat.
If Joe Shane, and I'm going to say this, if Joe Shane gets fired, Daboll's going to get fired. There's no way they keep Brian Daboll because you bring in a new GM, then you have to start all over, and the GM wants to bring his own guy in. That's what always happens. There's no way they keep Brian Daboll. And Daboll's lost this team. If you guys haven't seen it, he's lost his team. If your quarterback doesn't trust you, he's your leader. Your quarterback's your leader. If your leader doesn't trust you, what do you think the team is saying behind his back? He lost his coaching staff last year. Wink Martindale is no longer a part of that organization. He's coaching in college right now because he didn't want to be, and that's Brian Daboll's friend. They were friends. He hired Wink Martindale, and he decided to flee and go coach college football. What does that tell you about your coach? It tells me he's lost the team. He's lost the staff.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, and something that Speedy said earlier, too, that made sense, too. With the whole decision to jumpstart the 21-3, even if that's what you said in your head, you have to know as the head coach, so that you don't lose the team, like you just said, Earl, you have to know as the head coach, this isn't something that you just come up to the press and say, especially with how angry your quarterback was compared to like what you just did in the game. That's not something that you say. You have to show competency, and that's furthermore showing that he's losing this team. So that whole thing, it just has a whole bunch of red marks all over it.
Jobber,
it's so easy to say, like, just we wanted to keep him healthy. Like, don't get him hit anymore because he's been sacked 7 times.
Come on, you really didn't tell me that Drew Lock was your answer for that. I don't think I can't even remember the last touchdown pass Drew Lock even threw.
Hey, yeah, that one miracle comeback on the Chargers.
Oh, hold on one second. He was throwing the ball in the offseason to his wife. So maybe that was the last touchdown he threw, but I don't think you're going to see that in the NFL anytime soon, that he's going to be throwing a touchdown. And if he is, the only reason why is Daniel Jones goes down and teams are going to say, "Ole, throw the ball down the field." That's the only way it's going to work. But Jabba, you've been on a team that obviously has, had mistreated you, didn't treat you right, put you in a bad situation to fail, even though they should have put you in the best position to succeed. That's what an organization's trying to do when you have a phenomenal player at his position. What if you were Daniel Jones? How would that have made you feel, the way the organization has been brushing everything to the side on the talent that they put around you, and then obviously putting you in a position to fail?
I think you got to look at it twofold, where it comes to the aspect of, all right, are you putting me in the best opportunity to succeed, or are you doing what's making everybody happy? And obviously communication is key. Input is key. You're obviously paying him a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got to have some input on what is happening. And I mean, yeah, you get sacked 7 times. It's like, okay, well, how about we pay somebody to protect my butt so I'm not out here getting thrown around.
Oh, they tried that, and it was Nate Solder, and it didn't work.
Yeah, that definitely didn't work, obviously. But also at the same time, I think too, where when it comes down to like feeling like you're mistreated, and there's a human aspect that comes into that, right? And it's like, well, if you don't have my back, why do I have yours? And obviously you're not going to give up on your teammates. You're not going to do that. But where it also comes in too, it's like, do I have respect for you and the way you handled these things? And I don't have any respect for Cashman on what happened. And I'll be the first person to admit it. I get why, we had the rules initially because of the way, Torrey handled bullpens and stuff like that. But like in this situation, it's like, where is the mutual? Like, did we have a conversation? Do we do this? Like, do we approach it after the fact? Which I think you get ahead of it before you get behind it. And that just keeps everybody on the same page. We might not agree, and that's okay. Like that is fine. But at least if we know where we're both at in the same headspace, we may not agree, but at least we know where we're both at. And it's every game is different. Every game has a different outcome, and we know that. But also at the same time, it's like I'm okay if that outcome means we were all on the same page. And I think that's, there's some, like I said earlier when we were talking about the Jets, that there's some disconnect there, because then you come out and you say today in a press conference that you're our best chance to win. So it's just like that emotion, and you have to understand that's we're playing a sport, and emotion is played into it, and that can affect negatively and positively.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there needs to be more communication and understanding of the direction we're going in, and I don't see it.
ESPN Adam Schefter reports that DeShaun Watson suffered a torn Achilles during the Browns' Week 7 loss against the Bengals. Watson suffered a non-contact injury in his right leg in the second quarter of the game, and it is the second non-contact leg injury of his career. Several Brown fans were booing Watson during the injury, leading to a lot of controversy. Myles Garrett took shots at the Browns fans, saying everybody booing him should be ashamed of themselves. Garrett also called Watson a model citizen that has done everything right in both college and professional football. Watson was also booed by the fans during the pregame intros. This is the second consecutive year with a season-ending injury for Watson, who suffered a collarbone injury in November last season. This is a shame. Okay. Now, I'm not saying DeShaun Watson's having a good year. I'm not saying he's a model citizen. I disagree with Myles Garrett. Myles obviously is a big fan of DeShaun Watson. I don't think all the women that were, playing with him in many different ways, in front of the mirror, or even in the back room of his launch pad
and the Texans team facility.
Team facility. I don't believe he's a model citizen. What I do know is that nobody deserves to be booed when they're getting injured. Okay. That is a horrible injury to watch somebody go down like that. He didn't kill anybody. He didn't murder anybody. He's not a serial killer. He didn't do any of those things. He's done a lot of disgusting things. There's no question that he has. And he's paying for it, literally paying for it because of it. But the truth is, when you look at the situation for what it is, fans, especially Browns fans, they have been hard on the quarterback play for years. Look at Baker Mayfield, okay? Baker Mayfield was pretty much pushed out by the organization, pushed out by the fans, booing him because his wife was sticking up for him because of all the things. And everybody was talking about DeShaun Watson before it even happened. Trade for DeShaun Watson. Look at what Baker Mayfield's doing right now for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay.
He's down 7 right now.
No, but I'm saying, look at what he has done, really just rejuvenating an organization after losing Tom Brady. Okay, just think about that. Baker Mayfield, who was tossed to the side, let go. He goes to the LA Rams. He was there for a little while with Sean McVay, and then goes over to the Tampa Bay for a 1-year deal, takes over, and absolutely transitions that organization for the better. It says one thing about the Browns. The Browns organization had it all wrong. They had it all wrong. DeShaun Watson wasn't the guy. Baker Mayfield was the perfect fit for the Browns organization, because if anybody knows about Cleveland and where Cleveland is, it's in the middle of nowhere. Baker Mayfield, if you know anything about his career and where he's come from, it says a lot about who he is and what he has gone through as a college player, as an athlete, and then as a professional athlete. Johnny Manziel. Does everybody remember Johnny Manziel? He was drafted in the first round by who? The Cleveland Browns. Cleveland. Now, I thought Johnny Manziel was going to be a sensational player, but the problem with Johnny is he had substance abuse. He had bipolar disorder, and the organization looked past that. And that's something that the Cleveland Browns as an organization has done for many, many years. There was a quarterback. Remember? It was years and years ago. It was in the 90s. Do you remember who I'm talking about, Speedy? It was a first-round draft talent by the Browns. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Couch?
Tim Couch. Tim Couch. Tim Couch, if you know anything about Tim Couch had a bipolar disorder. And this is, before you draft quarterbacks, before you bring quarterbacks in, you have to investigate who they are and what they're all about. We all know what DeShaun Watson's talent was. We all know what he was. We knew what he was before he got hurt, and we knew what he was before he was, playing with himself or had other people playing for him in many different ways. Okay? The fact is, the organization took a chance and overspent on a guy that had so many things off the field and did so many things off the field you don't invest guaranteed money in. Now, no matter what happens with DeShaun Watson, if he comes back healthy or if he never plays football again, that's guaranteed money. That's on your cap. That sets your team back for the next 5 seasons. So to me, as an organization, and what the organization has done for the fans is wrong. But what the fans have done to the organization and what they've said about the organization and pushing the organization to make moves that should have never happened shows that the fan base absolutely doesn't know what this team is about and what this organization has been over the years. It is shameful what happened. I think DeShaun Watson's career is over. I think it's over. He's torn his ACL 3 times, 2 in one leg and 1 in the other. Now you tear your Achilles on your bad leg that you had 2 ACL surgeries on. It's not likely he's going to come back. I feel bad because I'm watching Baker Mayfield succeed over there in Tampa. You should have just stuck with Baker. You drafted him as the number 1 draft pick a couple of years ago. You should have ride and die with that kid. He was 1 play away from going to the AFC title game. 1 play away, 1 trick play away from taking your organization to the AFC title game. And you decide in a year after you attacked his wife on social media, attacked his manhood as a man, saying that you're letting your woman speak for you. If I'm Baker Mayfield right now, I'm smiling. I'm laughing. I'm laughing at that organization because I got my contract. I'm with a better organization that trusts me. I have a better fan base, and I don't have to deal with that crap over there in Ohio, that disgusting place where nobody knows what winning is except LeBron James. By the way, LeBron, where's your front-running ass?
Yeah, LeBron's front-running ass is probably attacking those fans too. But nevertheless, the Browns are
Give me a break. Yeah, he wears Yankee hats. He's a Yankee fan. He wears a Cowboy hat. He's a Cowboy fan.
Oh, he's a Cowboy fan.
And now he's a Brown fan. And I don't hear LeBron James talking about the Browns right now because they suck.
Yeah, and again, this is the problem when you have that toxic thing at the top when it comes to the quarterbacks. Like, you're trying to force your quarterbacks into a lot of things, and like you said, Baker Mayfield got ruined because of that kind of thing. It was only when he went to the Rams that Sean McVay turned him around, made him a stability, and then went to the Bucs, and he's played well the last 2 years. Played great this year, and we're seeing the same thing now with Sam Darnold. He goes to San Francisco after the issues with the Jets. He plays as a backup over there, sat behind Brock Purdy, and now he's playing well in Minnesota. But the big issue is just the Browns not being able to handle things right on the ownership going back. They've had good development of certain prospects. They've had good coaching. I don't think Stefanski's the biggest problem that a lot of these people are
He's a great coach. He'll get a job. So. He'll get a job if he gets fired at the end of the year.
I think it's a lot when you have to deal with all the adversity that you've dealt with the Browns. These A-grade personalities, and we talked about it before with the Jets. You get a great team on paper. It doesn't mean it's going to work in that kind of thing. But the fact that DeShaun Watson popped his ACL, I think his Achilles, his career is definitely over. That looked like a very gruesome thing. As far as the booing, you're going to have those kinds of things. They're going to be mixed. I don't mind the booing in the pregame. He struggled all year. He's been one of the worst statistical quarterbacks we've ever seen. But at the same time, booing with the injury might be a little extreme when you have the whole rest of the game to boo him. As far as Myles Garrett, though, that comment I will say is ridiculous because you could defend your teammate. You could say, all right, he's a good guy for our locker room. He's a good guy for our team culture. I like him off the field. You don't have to go far as say model citizen, though. That's a bit extreme. That's ridiculous.
Well,
it's not somebody that you're going to look at and say, all right, I'm going to be a model leader for this organization for everything that he's done off the field, everything he did off the field with the Texans too. And the Texans ownership wasn't the greatest either. And I think they've been better since then, but still the same model citizen. Look, this is the same guy that swung his helmet at Mason Rudolph. This is the same guy that had anger management issues in college. I'm not really sure if Myles Garrett should be the one to be speaking either. And you're a fan favorite, Myles, but you're going to be losing a lot of that fan base very quickly too. And you're going to be starting to be the one booed as good as you are.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's
Drink
there's
the water, Speedy, please.
there's
Drink the water. I gave
there's
you a
a
whole bottle of water.
there's a lot of layers to this, and it's just like he probably could have worded it a little different. And we support him, and I don't agree on booing anybody that gets hurt. Like, you may not like them as a person, but like, I don't want to see anybody injured, even if you're my worst enemy. Like, I don't want to see you hurt in any capacity. And I think that it just probably could have been worded a little better. And also, to your point, I mean, you've had 4 surgeries that are very impactful on your career, and coming back, I don't know how healthy you'll be, or to the production that you will have if you ever come back. I don't know, and you just never know that. But it sucks. Like, it's hard to watch. Those are one of those ones when you just see him like take off, and it just like you're just like, oh
Disgusting. Oh,
no.
it's so disgusting.
And you're like, oh, that's not good. And I've known a couple people that have blown their Achilles, and they're like, it is one of the most painful things I've ever been through. So you know what, at the end of the day, it's like, you don't have to like him as a person, but I don't want anybody ever to wish ill will on anybody. Yeah, boo him. Like Speedy said, statistically, yeah.
All
If
the
we're
rest
not,
of the game, boo him. You could. I don't mind
if we're not good and you boo me, 100%, I know I suck. I know I'm not doing great. Like, I'm not taking that. But at the end of the day, like, when it happens in an injury aspect, it just hits a little different. And you don't have to like me as a person. He's made plenty of mistakes playing with it and having somebody else play with it. But
Speedy, we should hook you up with him.
No, never.
What would you grab first, the balls or
I'm
the
not
shaft?
making physical contact with DeShaun Watson. I wasn't pulling anything. I wasn't pulling anything.
But yeah, it's something. We'll see what happens. Like, and we've obviously seen injuries that people have been like, oh, maybe he's not going to come back. I mean, we obviously dealing with Tua right now, and he said he's not going to wear the Guardian helmet when he comes back, and so on and so forth. So it's just like, it's one of those things where you hope for the best, and at the end of the day, that they're safe and making the right decision that is best for them and their family. And I mean, that's really all you can do.
And I feel bad for Kevin Stefanski, because this guy won Coach of the Year last year.
Right.
This guy has been one of the better offensive minds in the NFL for the last 5 seasons. I know everybody doesn't want to hear it. Everybody wants to say, well, if he's such a good offensive mind, why couldn't he stand up for Baker Mayfield and keep Baker Mayfield there? DeShaun Watson on paper at the time was the better quarterback. Now, as an organization, you should have investigated the situation for what it was. There were some inside sources saying for the last 2 years that something was going on, that the Texans were brushing it under the rug. Now, if you were a smart organization like the Pittsburgh Steelers, like other organizations, even the New England Patriots were a smart organization on some of the things and the Aaron Hernandez thing was not good, but they took a chance with Aaron Hernandez because of his talents. The good teams and the good coaches understand what the gripe is and how you can control these guys and how you put the team in the best position to succeed. And DeShaun Watson was definitely a guy that was on that list of players that were going to be available. But the situation for what it is right now, everybody said that Kevin Stefanski wanted DeShaun Watson. Yes, I believe that to be true. People make mistakes. Look at the Jets. Look at the organization and how many quarterbacks they've had. Look at them. You just mentioned it. Darnold's over there in Minnesota. He's up for an MVP this year. Geno Smith, he's in Seattle. He was up for an MVP 2 years ago. I mean, quarterbacks are just not a place for development for the New York Jets. The same thing with the Browns. They don't know how to develop quarterbacks. And look, Baker Mayfield went to Sean McVay. 1 year with Sean McVay. He goes over there, Todd Bowles, who doesn't know his ass from his tailbone when it comes to figuring out the offensive side of the ball. They bring in an offensive coordinator there, Analyst, who's right there with the Carolina Panthers now. And they figured it out. He figured out how to play quarterback in the NFL. Baker is one of the top 7 quarterbacks right now in all of football. And that you have to give that kid a lot of credit for all the boos and all the hatred and all the crap that he heard over there in Cleveland, Ohio. This guy is being the model citizen the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been looking for since Tom Brady.
That's a model citizen, Myles Garrett, not DeShaun Watson.
Yeah. He is. Crazy. It's crazy.
Baker Mayfield, they could have just kept him.
Mhm.
And then they would be a playoff team every year because their coach is fantastic. Flacco gave them 10 times as much than what DeShaun Watson gave him this year. And look, if he's a mobile quarterback that can improvise and make plays on the run, and you take away his legs, and now it looks like they're gone for good with the Achilles, he's nothing. And he's not going to be worth a dime, except they have to pay like a $90 million cap charge next year for him. It's 90. We're worried about Daniel Jones at 40. Can you imagine 90? They're going to just have, like it's going to be like the movie Major League where they're getting guys from California Penal to play for them over there. It's going to be a disaster for the next bunch of years. And Stefanski should get the heck out of there if he can. But they would be crazy to let him go because he's the only one that might be able to win games with this crap that they're going to have on the field the next few years because of this horrific decision by ownership. You could say Stefanski wanted him or not, but that's ownership's call to give him a guaranteed contract when no one's ever given the guaranteed contract to the quarterback. It's never happened, and it's never happened since either. There's more guaranteed money than there used to be, but no one's gotten fully guaranteed, even after the Watson contract, except for Watson. It's unbelievable that they decided to make that decision.
He would be the biggest name. If I was a team owner right now and Stefanski becomes available, he would be the number one target out of all the guys that are available. He's knowledgeable in the game. He's a great offensive mind. And to find a coach that is offensively minded and sounded like him and succeeded, he's been successful in the league offensively. He would be the guy. If I were the Jets, that's the guy. If he becomes available, I would absolutely put all my eggs in that basket for Stefanski. He's the perfect fit. So
why wouldn't you want him? He's been able to turn, the chicken shit from last season into chicken salad, made it into the playoffs with 4 different quarterbacks, 38-year-old Flacco at the time. Hey, chicken salad's pretty good if you can make it out of nothing, and that's what this
how's
guy's
your
able to
chicken
do.
salad over there in Calville?
No,
It doesn't exist.
probably have corn in the
Shake
recipe
his
over
head.
in
I
Nebraska.
don't want any of that.
Yeah, no, you guys can have that.
Just the last thing about all this when he went down, I texted the group chat like, that's a torn Achilles immediately.
Oh.
You know what it looked like? The same thing that happened to Drake Greenlaw in the Super Bowl, where he was just trying to step back, push off, and just run onto the field. That's all he did, and sometimes it goes snap. And that's just such a devastating injury to watch. You can't boo a guy when he's down with, that injury. Jabba, you probably can explain it a little bit better than me, but as far as I know, like your whole calf muscle rolls up into your, like the top of your, like underneath your knee. And it just sounds like the most painful thing ever. I remember watching the movie, it was a Hostel where the guy slashes the Achilles.
All right,
the murder
I remember that
thing.
part.
Yep.
That I remember just like, oh my God, like one of the worst things you could see. I mean, the Achilles is just a devastating one, but if that's what's happening and you're getting booed at the same time, I mean, he did some horrible things, but that's a pretty shitty way to go out, man.
He's paying for that. He's paying for that right now. So fans got to stop. They got to let it go. I mean, you got what you wanted. He's gone. He's probably never playing again for your organization. You're screwed as an organization. But nevertheless, you don't have to deal with him. DeShaun Watson's not going to be back next year. He's gone for the whole year next year. There's no way he comes back next year with that kind of injury. He's got knee problem after knee problem. He's had ankle problems. He's had toe problems. I mean, I don't think you see DeShaun Watson again. I think they buy out the contract. They deal with that bad next year. They deal with the cap, $90 million, and then after that, it gets thrown to the side if he retires.
But like I said, though, it'll be interesting, and I don't know how it works in the NFL. But with him on injured reserve, can you do anything with the contract? I don't know the stipulations of it. You can't, right? So then it's like, is he going to rehab his ass off and like try and get back and try and, get back on the field? And then are they like, hey, we're just going to renegotiate these, because they can't do it when he's on IR. So it's like, you're kind of stuck behind the 8 ball, right? If
there's no way they're going to be able to move that. They're stuck with it.
Right. But so it'll be interesting to see what his motivation is to try and get back on the field, or you just milk it because of all the injuries you've had before.
Now there's a chance to change the culture without him. You have to try to find a way regardless.
Right.
NFL insider Jordan Schultz reports that Brandon Aiyuk suffered a season-ending ACL in Week 7 versus the Chiefs. Aiyuk left the game towards the end of the first half after being hit by the Chiefs cornerback Trent McDuffie. The 49ers were also playing with Deebo Samuel in this game as he was out with an illness. The 49ers still have 4 Pro Bowl players on the injured reserve as well, including Christian McCaffrey, who hasn't played all season. Aiyuk had 25 catches for 374 yards in 7 games after getting hurt. Aiyuk is on his first year of a 4-year, $120 million contract. This is devastating. And the 49ers have been fighting injury after injury after injury after injury, and they're still in a playoff run, and they still probably are going to make the playoffs, really, because I'm not a Kyle Shanahan fan. He finds a way to get these guys to play for him in his scheme. His scheme fits. And Brock Purdy, you can say whatever you want. You might not like Brock Purdy. He's not an elite quarterback, but he's good enough to run this offense. You don't need an elite quarterback to run this offense. Ask Jimmy Garoppolo. Is he elite? He's not even playing. I don't even know where he's playing right now. If he's
the Rams backup.
Yeah, he's never going to be a
like
starting
the third,
quarterback.
I think.
Yeah.
Stetson Bennett's in front of him, I believe.
Right. There's you look at the situation for what it is. They're still going to find a way to win. And when Deebo Samuel does come back, and he's at 100%, hopefully soon, they still have a massive weapon. They also have a kid that they drafted in Pearsall, who I think is going to be now added to this offense, a guy that can be used in many different ways. You could put him in the slot. He's also he's got speed on the outside. After getting shot before the season started, we haven't seen a lot of him. But now Nick, right? It's Nick. I'm sorry, Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall, who was drafted in the first round. They moved up to get him. I think Ricky is going to play a big factor in this offense moving forward. The thing is that this defense, with the injuries that they have, Nick Bosa has not been 100% healthy all season long. They're really starting. They're starting to try to figure out how this team is going to stay afloat until these guys come back. I still think they're the best team in the division. The Rams have a tremendous amount of injuries. Cooper Kupp still hasn't come back when he was supposed to come back this week. We haven't seen Puka Nacua. So this team is probably still the best team in the division. The fact that Seattle is still up there is because Seattle's defense is putrid in the secondary. They're not very good as far as I'm concerned, but they're getting enough. They're getting enough from the quarterback playing the offense with DK Metcalf and some of the players that they have over there, where they're still staying on the top of that division. The problem right now for San Francisco is getting healthy at the right time. Last year, this is the same thing that happened, and they need Christian McCaffrey. If Christian McCaffrey comes back, that's all you need. He changes everything offensively for the team. And I think it'll open up the field for the other guys, even guys like Ricky Pearsall and guys like Deebo Samuel. But guess what? Look at what Deebo Samuel, when Deebo Samuel is in the lineup, this team, I think last year had, I think they lost 1 or 2 games when he was in the lineup. I think the most important thing right now is getting Christian McCaffrey back, but getting Deebo Samuel in this offense and using him the way you use him, and that's in the running game and the offensive side of the ball, and sticking him in the slot where he is just such a mismatch in many different ways. So I'm not worried about San Francisco. I think they'll get healthy. They're going to squeak into the playoffs this year. They're still as dangerous as any team in the NFC.
Yeah, I think because of the fact that their division has been up and down with injuries as well, like it gives them a little leeway to be more cautious with these guys, with Christian McCaffrey. Now, Scoop said before in the Sports Minute that he says they expect him back by week 10, which is interesting to think. But at the same time, like you have to be very careful with him. Like your team is 3-4, Seattle's 4-3, but they're very mediocre 4-3. I don't think anyone's expecting them to like say, oh, they're a powerhouse. They beat the Broncos, they beat the Patriots. Like these aren't exactly like powerhouse teams. They finally took down a good team with Atlanta, but for 49ers now.
Are they good?
Yeah. Even so, like we even have questions with that. That's the point. You're fighting for, you're going to be the 3 or 4 seed in the NFC if you win the division anyway. You're not going to top the NFC North, whoever comes out of that. And Tampa, the way they're playing too, we were just talking about it. Like they're probably not going to chase them. But going back to Aiyuk, we were talking about it all offseason with how much value he brings when he's not being thrown the ball too. Great route runner, great versatile guy that blocks very well. Fish, you discussed his blocking a lot during this offseason. Like he's still very valuable to that scheme. And the route running especially, is he going to have that same level of a route tree, having to make those kinds of cuts when he's coming back from a torn ACL? That's the thing that's going to be very concerning going into next season. But short term, I agree with you, Errol. I'm not that worried.
No, and I think too, it's like you look and they're expecting CMC to be back week 10. I mean, it's like you're adding another player, and we've seen the production from Jordan Mason and seen how, he's become a big part of their offense. And with the weapons that they have, I think with the way the NFC sits that right now with the up and down of it, and then you add a CMC where I feel like you don't have to put necessarily the huge load on him now, because you've seen how beneficial Jordan Mason's been and how productive he's been. I think you can kind of ebb and flow those two where you don't put the whole load on CMC, because as we've seen in his career as well, we knew he's going to get hurt. Like it's just inevitable at this point, and that's just what happens. So I think with the production that Mason has done, and I think it takes a little bit off of CMC, and I think that's maybe a little bit why
interesting
their front office is kind of like maybe giving CMC a couple more weeks, right? Is because they've had production, and now they're able to still be in there. And like you said, it'd probably be a 3 or 4 seed, probably.
Right.
But it's going to be something to where now you have another weapon where now it spreads the field out. Because obviously Kittle and Deebo, just his mismatch, and just the dude's a freak athlete, and the things that he can do and how he manages stuff, and the things that they're able to run and expand the field in so many ways with so many weapons.
It's the most versatile offense skill-wise.
And remember, they still have Jennings, who was hurt this week. Right. So Jennings has had a really good season. Yep. Really, really good season.
So I don't think holding him out with the way the division is shaping up and how it's been up and down and what it is. I think the Seahawks are a soft 4-3. But also at the same time, it's like you don't have a caliber of a CMC coming back and being able to add another dynamic weapon when you still have what Jordan Mason has done in absence of that. So I think it opens up the field even more. And then some of Purdy's throws weren't the best. Like you said, he's not elite, but he's serviceable with the weapons that he has. And I think you bring back another dynamic to that. It just opens up the field even more.
Fish, also, can you really not trust a team that lost to the Giants in the Seahawks?
No, you can't. But I'll say this. Geno's leading the league in passing yards, and Brock Purdy is second. Jordan Mason is second in rushing yards in the entire league, ahead of Saquon Barkley. That goes to show you that the Shanahan offense will survive no matter what happens to it. Now, what do they lose when they lose Aiyuk? You said it, Speedy. They lose perimeter blocking in the outside run game. He's probably the best in the business blocking on the edge at the receiver position, in my opinion. That's a big, big loss for some of the things that they try to do in the outside zone game. The bigger thing, I believe, though, you got Jennings is a really good receiver. He's coming into his own. Debo is this Swiss Army knife. He can do so much. But what Debo doesn't do is he doesn't have the diverse deep route tree that you got from Aiyuk. Aiyuk, he can convert the routes based on the leverage of the secondary. And that's what people don't like. It's not he's running a post route. He's running a post route. If they play cover, 2, he's going to break it to the middle. If they play, man, he's going to keep running up the seam. It'll convert based on however their thing is. And that takes a lot of trust from the quarterback. And it takes a lot of skill from the receiver to have that kind of experience to expand the field vertically. They lose that now without him. So that is problematic. It's like a couple of chinks in the armor in the Shanahan offense, which, as you know, everyone copies it throughout the league, including McVay. They all copy the Shanahan outside zone offense that came from his father and obviously has been improved over the years with the new football system through Kyle. I mean, he still blows it every time he gets to the Super Bowl. But let's say, this is a really great offense, and they're going to find a way. It's just they're taking so many hits. Can they make it to the playoffs and with all these problems? Because if they can, then guys get healthy. Maybe they can still make a little bit of a run. But guys, their chance was last year is what it looks like right now. And it's not this year.
Tommy, your thoughts?
Jabba makes a really good point. I mean, just look at how weak the division is. They still do have Jordan Mason, who's, like Fish just mentioned too, Jordan Mason, Jawan Jennings, even Brock Purdy. They're all leading in stats. They're all, I'm sorry, not leading, but they're all top 3 in their statage, for rushing, receiving, and passing. So I think that their offense is pretty solid right now, considering, they're not winning the games that they should be or the games that people expected them to be winning. But the 49ers also, for the past few years that they've been a contender, they've really been a second half team. I mean, they kind of do start off with this 3-4, 4-5 records to start off the season, and they kind of figure it out heading into the final weeks of the NFL. November and December football is where they seem to be playing their best, which is when it really matters. I mean, anybody can look at the Seahawks, what they've been doing for the past few seasons. They always have a strong September, strong October, and they play like horrible in November, December. So when the playoff comes around, they're just not really a contender overall. So really, if the 49ers offense does what they've been doing for the second half of the season and they continue to do that, I think that they could be pretty good and a pretty good borderline playoff team. But look at they're just breaking down. We can't ignore that though. They're breaking down ever since the Super Bowl, really, with Dre Greenlaw going down, with Ricky Pearsall even getting injured, finally getting his first game back in, but then Jawan Jennings get hurt. Debo Samuel is hospitalized. Brandon Aiyuk's out for the year now. Christian McCaffrey hasn't even played a single game. So, also, I want to raise the question too, but the 49ers might be looking at, possibly trading for a receiver.
I don't think they need so.
I don't think so.
Possibly? No.
Nah, I don't think they're going to do that. The 49ers are not an organization that does that. I think anybody can be moved into his offense. Kyle, everything, you could put Speedy in the offense and you could put him in the flats, and as long as he can catch the ball, it'll work. I mean, it's not. That's what makes Brock Purdy so interesting as a quarterback. Brock Purdy isn't a star quarterback, but he fits the offense. That's why it works. You don't need a star Patrick Mahomes. And by the way, what is Pat doing this year? Pat has been horrible, but they're finding a way to win. Why? Because I've been saying this over and over again. When you have a good coach that understands how to run offense, like Andy Reid, it changes the dynamic, whoever the quarterback is. And again, that goes back to Bill Belichick. Everybody keeps giving Tom Brady all the credit in the world. He's a great quarterback. You need a great coach to be a great quarterback. So, again, Bill Belichick had every reason to that success, as Tom Brady did to that success of those New England Patriot teams. Kyle Shanahan, I like Kyle as a regular season coach. When it comes to the playoffs, for some damn reason, this guy forgets what his strengths were in the regular season. That's running the goddamn ball. He's got a great running game all the time. And for some reason in the playoffs, especially in the Super Bowl, when he gets there, he says, you know what? We're in the lead. I'm going to stop running the ball. It makes no sense. None. But again, you're right. I think that they might look at different areas where they can get better. I just don't see the 49ers digging deep And John Lynch is one of those guys that doesn't really dig deep unless he really needs to for a wide receiver when they have so much depth there, like Ricky Pearsall.
Right. Scoops, to answer your question too, I would say, like, I think the only like route running type wide receiver that's going to be remotely available is Cooper Kupp. But there's no way the Rams are going to trade Cooper Kupp to the 49ers. So that's already out of the equation. I think it's more likely they trade for a defensive player. Like Travarius Ward's been hurt for most of the year. They've lost Hufanga. He's on IR. Like maybe a secondary piece, I think, is more likely.
Speedy, you're forgetting about the most obvious guy who's available for them. He used to lead the New York Giants in receiving yards, number 86, number 86 in our hearts. Darius Slayton is available at a cheap price.
All the
49ers,
Giants
over.
receivers go to the Chiefs. We have to keep the pattern going.
Please.
We'll be surprised to give Andy Reid signs Kenny Galladay as a tight end at this point to rebirth his career.
Where is Kenny Galladay? Is he just like not on
He's a free agent. Nobody wants him.
Slayton's fast. He can run deep for you. Hey, just give us a, 4th round pick, maybe a 5th. Slayton, he's available, man.
It's about all he knows how to do is run deep. No, he knows how to dig deep too. So, Speed, you know all about digging deep, right?
Yeah, he has to dig deep to get the football that he drops.
Yeah, and many different things, You like dropping things. You like dropping the soap, right?
Dropping the soap.
Have you ever dropped the soap?
Yes, but why do I like doing that?
Depends on where you're at.
What is possibly my incentive to drop soap? Is this some like Nebraska town fair tradition here?
Well, it's a tradition, Speedy, just not in Nebraska. Not the way you think it is.
It's everywhere.
All right, I guess it's a common Hofstra thing, apparently.
Why, you want to hang out at Hofstra?
No, I don't.
Would you go in the locker room?
If has this much experience dropping soap, I don't want to know. You could invite Darius Slayton, though.
One Watson, Robert Kraft. Hey, I tell you right. I tell you right now, I would love to see Robert Kraft drop the soap. I think he'd enjoy it.
For once, I'm not going to make that graphic.
No, I don't. I definitely don't want to see it, by the way.